I am very, very pleased indeed that Feminist Open Forum is here and part of the ERA campaign for election 2011. And because gender matters, and gender matters especially to women who continue to experience very serious discrimination in politics, in public life, and in the workplace in this country. And yet, as I think we all know, it is women who continue to do the major share of caring in our society, caring for families, caring for all kinds of people who require care, and caring and looking after communities. And gender cuts across all of the social categories that we've been talking about this morning and many others. It cuts across age, ethnicity, sexuality, disability, lone parents, carers, all kinds of people. Gender matters to all of us, and as I said before, it's women's gender matters hugely, because in each of these categories, women are at greater risk of discrimination, at greater risk of inequality, and at greater risk of poverty. Wherever you look across the statistics, when you combine gender with, we'll say, for example, social class, or with disability, or with age, we find, or with caring responsibilities, it is women who are coming out as bearing that brunt of a burden. And I think that that's also true, that as the recession is revealing to us, that women are the shock absorbers. Women are out there on the front line. Women are carrying that burden of social welfare cuts, cuts in health services, cuts in transport, for example, that has affected women hugely in communities, cuts in community programs, cuts to public sector services of all kinds, and cuts to public service jobs. Just to give you a couple of statistics maybe, women's unemployment is actually rising in the last quarter of 2011 at a faster rate than that of men. And that's not something that you read about in the papers or see on television, but that statistically is the reality. And as we know, when public service jobs are cut, they're often cut in the sectors such as education, health, social welfare, and those are the very public service areas where women dominate as employees. There are massive risks for women in the workplace at the present time. You'll all have heard of women's fears of job cuts, and particularly of discrimination when they're seeking maternity leave, or indeed of seeking to get their jobs back. These are not anecdotes, they're not stories. They're not just stories that people are telling one another. These are the very real things that are happening to people all over this country, and women are there picking up the pieces. I would also, just point out to us that when you have a society in stress, which is what we have in this country at the present time, where people are desperately seeking to cope, there is ample evidence, sadly, that rates of violence against women increase. And this is already coming to the fore now. So there are very many reasons why it's extremely important for us to understand that gender matters, and gender matters particularly for women. Obviously, all of the recommendations in the roadmap, which is so comprehensive, all of those recommendations are important to everybody in this country, women and men in all social groups. But there are one or two that I'd particularly like to draw attention to. Frank has already referred to the expanding the definition of caring, for example, in our legislation. We need that very urgently. Adding the category of socio-economic status, social class, to the equality legislation is vital, should have been done very many years ago, long overdue. And also there is a recommendation which I think is important for everybody. I know it will be important for women, which is the putting the onus on public and private sector organisations, actually requiring them to play their real part in ensuring that discrimination is prevented and ended, that there is equality, a plan for equality, and that there is also a recognition of the need to include diverse social groups in employment. And that's the positive duties piece of legislation, which again should have been done very many years ago. The last one I'll refer to is the need, and it's particularly important in an election period, the need to introduce a legal basis for gender quotas. And when we say gender quotas, what we're really talking about is the fact that our Dáil, our Oireachtas, is the Dáil Éireann is 87% men. It's not just that it's 13% women, it's 87% men. And this has to end. This is the starkest statement we have of blatant inequality on a gender basis in this country. It won't solve all the problems, but it can't make things any worse. Thank you all very much.